In bankruptcy, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it usually does. If you doubt me, just ask Puerto Rico. That poor island commonwealth, as you know, is grossly insolvent. Its financial problems were in part internally caused, but in other respects, their difficulties in significant measure resulted from changes in federal government policy toward the island. In any event, they end up in the debt restructuring under the so-called PROMESA law. They make some progress, and then guess what? You remember the hurricane destroyed most of the island and its infrastructure, putting a big crimp in Puerto Rico's budget and its ability to pay creditors. So in some sense, they went back to square one after the hurricane in terms of working out a reorganization. Early in the case, or I should actually say ever since the beginning of the case, bondholders have been fighting vigorously to undermine the PROMESA statute, or perhaps even have the entire ball of wax declared unconstitutional. Well, significantly, on July the 13th, there were two opinions by two different federal judges pointing in polar opposite directions, or so it might seem after a superficial reading of those opinions. We had District Judge Laura Taylor Swain, who is sitting by designation in the District of Puerto Rico to oversee the PROMESA proceedings. She ruled on July the 13th that the Oversight Board for Puerto Rico is not subject to the Appointments Clause of the federal Constitution. Had she ruled otherwise, very likely everything that had happened or might happen in the Puerto Rico debt restructuring would have been voided. So Puerto Rico wins that round, but guess what? The very same day, July the 13th, a district judge in the Federal Court of Claims rules that indeed Puerto Rico's PROMESA proceedings appointed a board that is part of the federal government. That really seems to be contrary to Judge Swain's conclusion that the PROMESA board is part of the island commonwealth, not the federal government. Judge in the Court of Claims proceeding went on to rule that the claim by the bondholders was still very much alive, that PROMESA is taking away property of theirs without due process. As I said, a superficial reading of these two opinions might lead you to believe that one or the other of them is incorrect, and therefore might cast some doubt upon the validity of Puerto Rico's debt restructuring. On the other hand, I give it to you to read both of my stories on these opinions in detail. In fact, go back and read the opinions themselves, because it is very conceivable that both of these decisions are correct, and that Puerto Rico's debt restructuring is very much alive. You can find these opinions, as well as my discussion of them, very easily on the website of American Bankruptcy Institute. On the search feature, just type in Puerto Rico, push the search button, and then those stories, as well as links to the opinion, will plop right into your lap. Well, this is Bill Rochelle, ABI's editor-at-large, saying bye-bye until this time next week.